Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Right, today we're wading into the world of Aston Martin because, honestly, the ambition, the sheer optimism coming from their leadership lately, it's, well, it's pretty intense.
It really is. And it's more than just, the usual F1 we want to win talk. We've got Andy Cowell, the CEO and team principal, and Lawrence Stroll, the owner, both making these huge declarations about winning championships.
Yeah, exactly. So our mission today is to really dig into where that confidence comes from, but also, crucially, to look at this almost contradictory message about when the success is supposed to happen.
That's the core of it, because you hear talk of immediate glory, but then also patience. So let's break it down.
Okay, let's start with Andy Cowell's vision. He's the CEO, right, setting the tone. And almost the first thing he does is talk about leadership and honesty.
Yeah, he advises his management, basically says, look, you need to be honest. Don't promise something you can't actually deliver. Standard good advice, you'd think.
Standard good advice. And then what does he do, like, immediately after?
He pivots hard. He introduces this concept he calls B-hacks.
B-hacks. Okay, and these aren't just like stretch goals, are they?
Not at all. He defines a B-hack for Aston Martin as winning multiple championships back-to-back, consecutive titles, the absolute summit.
Wow. So much for not promising something you can't fulfill. I mean, that's a massive promise.
It is, and he doubles down. He says he's striving for it, and then straight up says, yes, I believe it will happen.
Right. So is this just, motivational talk for the factory? Or is he genuinely signaling they expect that level of success soon?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's definitely a statement of intent. It suggests they believe they can build something truly dominant, not just snatch a single title. But you have to wonder about the internal pressure that creates.
Especially coming from the guy who just preached caution about promises. It sets a ridiculously high bar. So what are the tools he thinks will get them there?
Well, this is where the personnel come in. The sources really focus on two key figures, ADRIAN NEWEY and Fernando Alonso.
Okay, let's talk NEWEY first. Cowell heaps praise on him, doesn't he?
Absolutely. He talks about the fantastic record, obviously, the attention to detail, the enthusiasm. But the key bit for me was Cowell saying NEWEY has elevated the entire organization, makes everyone better.
That's that cultural impact.
Yeah.
And the sources paint him as just pure engineer, right?
110%, yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, he's got zero interest in the business side, meetings, org charts, even as a shareholder. It's all about the car.
And how he sees the car is key. Not just aero, but everything.
Right.
Vehicle dynamics, packaging.
Exactly. He looks at it totally. And apparently, he makes life very hard for the engineers.
Why is that? Because he demands the impossible.
Sort of. He demands incredibly tight packaging. So for you listening, think about shrinking everything inside the car. The engine bits, the gearbox, radiators down to the absolute minimum size.
Right, squeezing it all in.
Yeah, because every tiny bit of space you save inside gives you more freedom for clever aerodynamic shapes on the outside. And that external airflow, that's where the magic happens in modern F1. NEWEY won't compromise on getting that space.
Okay, so that's the design genius sorted. What about the driver input? Let's talk Alonso. Because, there have always been those whispers about his development skills.
Yes, the old narrative. Fast, but maybe tricky for development. Well, Cowell's comments pretty much put that to bed.
What did he say specifically?
He talked about Alonso getting out of the car earlier this year, said his feedback was instantaneous, really detailed. Cowell described that whole information transfer, that data download, as simply tremendous.
Tremendous. From someone like Andy Cowell. That's huge validation, isn't it?
It absolutely is. It kills that criticism dead. It confirms they think they have the design guru and the ultimate driver feedback loop.
So they've got NEWEY's brain and Alonso's feel. Seems like a strong foundation.
Definitely. And yeah, Cowell gave Lance Stroll some, necessary positive words too. But the sheer weight of the praise for Alonso's technical feedback really stands out in the sources.
Okay, perfect time for this. If you're just joining us now, maybe watching this on YouTube, welcome to the Deep Dive. Do hit that subscribe button for more F1 Deep Dives like this one. We're digging into Aston Martin's big plans and seeing if the ambition lines up with F1 reality.
Because reality does bite in F1, doesn't it?
It certainly does. And that brings us neatly to the owner, Lawrence Stroll. He starts off just as punchy, right? Says he's implacable, won't stop until they're world champions.
Classic Stroll ambition, no holding back. But then he brings in the dose of realism, almost like an antidote to Cowell's B-hacks.
How so?
He admits F1 dishes out a lot of disappointment, says when it happens here, it hurts more, which is quite revealing.
And then he talks about something crucial, patience.
Yes, he says patience is required, even though, and I quote, it's not a word much in his vocabulary. Huh.
Yeah, doesn't quite sound like him. But then he uses that analogy.
The killer line, Rome was not built in a day, is very appropriate for a Formula One team. That directly contrasts COWELL's multiple titles, back-to-back now vibe.
Right, so Stroll's basically saying, hold your horses.
Pretty much. He's signaling that the biggest challenge isn't just getting the talent or the money, it's making it all work together. Integrating the new factory, NEWEY, car dial, all these pieces, that takes time.
And he links it directly to the next big thing on the horizon.
Exactly. The new Honda power unit arriving next year. Stroll specifically says they have to give Honda the time they need to develop that unit properly.
So he's managing expectations for 2025, pointing towards the big regulation change.
That's how it reads. He's saying, look, 2025 is part of the process, but the real target, the launch pad for this domination they want, is probably 2026 when the new regs and the fully developed Honda unit come together.
And his final point reinforces that, right? Don't pressure people immediately.
Yeah, give them the space to do their jobs. It feels very much like Stroll prioritizing the long game, the structured build-up to 2026, over demanding instant miracles next season.
We also need to remember the massive technical step they're taking, going from a customer team buying gearboxes and rear suspension.
Do a full-on factory team doing it all themselves. That's huge.
What does that actually mean day to day, starting from scratch on those parts?
It's an enormous task. When you buy those core components like the gearbox and rear suspension, they dictate so much about your car's layout, weight balance, everything. Now Aston Martin has to design all that in-house. They're essentially trying to catch up on decades of knowledge that teams like Mercedes or Red Bull have built up.
So Stroll's Rome wasn't built in a day isn't just talk. It's reflecting a massive engineering reality.
Absolutely. That transition alone needs serious time and patience.
Okay, so let's try and synthesize this. We've got COWELL aiming for the stars, talking consecutive titles, like yesterday, and then Stroll saying, hang on, Rome, patience, 2026. What's the actual strategy here?
I think it's layered communication. COWELL's hype, the B-hacks, that's outward-facing. It's for sponsors, media, attracting more talent, maybe boosting share price. You know, it projects ultimate capability.
Well, the public message.
Right. And Stroll's message, that feels more internal. It's for the engineers, the technical team. It's managing expectations inside the building. He's basically saying, we know this is hard. We know it takes time. Focus on getting the 2026 package right. Don't burn yourselves out chasing impossible short-term targets. It's like putting the plaster on before the wound even happens.
Mitigating the pressure COWELL just created.
Exactly. It strongly suggests 2026 is the real internal target for when they expect to start seriously challenging for championships.
But, and this is the massive but hanging over everything, Fernando Alonso. His contract is only confirmed until the end of next year, 2025.
There's the rub. How does Stroll's call for patience, this focus on 2026 and beyond, fit with a driver like Alonso? He's not exactly known for hanging around during rebuilding years, is he?
Not typically, no. So if the project only really peaks in 2026 or even 2027, when they've got the factory, NEWEY, Honda, all firing, will Alonso still be there? Will they have his tremendous feedback guiding that crucial final development phase?
Or will they lose that vital link just as things are supposed to get really good? That's the critical tension.
And we even heard Alonso himself recently kind of managing expectations, saying nobody really knows who's going to be strong next year. So the pragmatic view seems to be gaining traction even within the team.
Yeah, it feels like the internal reality is starting to balance the external hype.
So wrapping this up, Aston Martin's got this incredible drive, this almost blinding optimism from COWELL. But it's anchored, thankfully, perhaps by Stroll's grasp of F1 logistics and the need for patience. They believe they'll be champions, but the when is fuzzy.
They definitely seem to have the ingredients, don't they? NEWEY, Alonso, for now, the new factory, the Honda deal coming. But putting it all together at the right time, that's the challenge. What's your take? Is this just the necessary hype you need in F1? Or is there a genuine, solid plan here for dominance?
I think the plan is genuine, like you said, focused on 26. The hype is maybe aspirational padding. But the real question it leaves me with, the one you're listening to mull over, if success needs that much patience, if Rome really isn't built until 2026, will Fernando Alonso stick around long enough to see the finished city? Or will Aston Martin potentially miss out on his input right when they need it most, just as this whole massive project is supposed to peak?
That's the cliffhanger, isn't it? Timing is everything.
It really is.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all we have time for on this deep dive. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe and follow us wherever you get your podcasts for more F1 analysis. We'll catch you on the next one.